Today we are going to talk about the Cape Town to Victoria Falls tour, which is our most popular tour. It is the most incredible tour. It's a 20-day tour. You can do it either in a north or a south direction, and you can do it in either a camping or an accommodated version. So we're going to get started, and we're going to hand over to the team. We're each going to talk about a little part or a little section of the tour, or what you can expect from the tour. And we're going to get started with Huntley.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. And I'm going to start about unveiling the journey and essentially the first few days from your arrival into Cape Town. I've had lots of European friends that's traveled to South Africa, and they always say Cape Town feels quite European. So I do feel it's quite a good way to start a journey like the Cape to Vic Falls. I really highly recommend it, especially to first-time travelers that don't only want to see South Africa but want to experience a bit more north and a few more of the African countries north of South Africa. It's a good way to have a few days, get into the African feel and rhythm, but without being overwhelmed with a really truly African city that maybe is something like Dar es Salaam or Nairobi. Cape Town, you've got beautiful wine farms, great restaurants, mountains, beaches. So take a few days, unwind from your flight down if you've flown in. Some people might have driven down from Johannesburg, but it's a great city to just get into that African feeling. Don't make the mistake of just spending one day here if it's your first time. Do make sure you have ample time in Cape Town, and then really the journey starts with traveling north. First stop mostly is an area called the Cederberg, and that's where you're going to start feeling this immense space, wide open skies, and the Cederberg's extremely. I've got some friends in that area, and some people joke they farm with rocks. It is just massive boulders, incredibly rocky, lunar type of landscapes. So it's kind of the first time that you kind of feel, okay, wait, this is now where you start traveling into rural Africa, and it's where the magic starts happening. Beautiful starry nights. The Cederberg can be extremely cold in winter, extremely hot in summer. And that's where you're gonna really start feeling, okay, this African experience is starting. Then obviously traveling further up north towards Namibia. Depending on the time of year, you're gonna either hit the Namakwaland flower season, beautiful flowers if you September, October typically, and then easing into Namibia. And that's where your wide open space country starts. Beautiful stark dramatic scenery. And then also Swakopmund, a beautiful town. Sorry, I've got just something going here. And yeah, it's essentially it's a really good way to start the tour and to ease into what is going to be a great experience.
And I was concerned you're going to start telling us the whole route, and I was like, you're going to steal my part.
No, that was me just easing into the journey and the start. So yeah, I think that's more or less it.
Thank you. And it was exactly what I was thinking as well when you were describing some of the different areas. Like going into Namibia is really otherworldly. That's the way I describe it to people. There are landscapes there that you don't see anywhere else on the planet. It's absolutely incredible and amazing to see. But without going into too much detail about Namibia itself, I feel like the highlight you get then is Etosha, because that's really your first sense of big game and the first opportunity to see really exciting things on your journey if you are there for wildlife. So on my own personal experience, when we entered Etosha, straight away you're seeing things like the giraffes, the zebras, the oryx, they're all around the watering hole as you're coming in. just incredible. And I remember we were driving along, and one of the people was sitting, because we had all the windows open on the truck, everybody was taking pictures, and we were going along pretty slowly. And one of the people was sitting kind of facing, she was sitting right in the front, but facing backwards. And we went a bit up the road, and she was like, stop, stop, stop. And the guard reversed, which felt like for quite a while. And under a tree, which we all would have missed, but because she was facing that direction kind of backwards, there was a rhino just lying in the shade. And she saw, and she wasn't even certain because she had never seen one before, but it was the horn that she saw, and that's what caught her eye. So just from the other angle, no one had seen it, just from where it was. And shortly after that, then we saw like this herd of elephants, but they were quite a distance. And the guides were like, well, we're going for lunch now. We're going to see more elephants. And everyone's like, no, we want to like stay and take photos at this huge distance. But you don't realize that there's so many elephants that you're going to see in Etosha that it's incredible. In fact, on the whole trip, you'll just see loads of elephants. And we got to lunch, and we were setting up, and there was quite excitement because we were quite close to the watering hole and the viewing points. And there was a lot of excitement, like, when are the elephants going to get you? When are they going to get you? And just as we were finishing lunch, the whole herd came through. And they had babies with them, and it was incredible. So just a wonderful experience from a wildlife perspective. Even the next day, we were in the truck just doing a safari drive around, and we were all looking out the window to the one side at this rhino. And for some reason, so everyone's on the one side, I looked out the window on the other side, and as I was looking, a hyena just walked out the bush, and I was like, hyena. It probably sounded like ole, ole. It was huge excitement because I'd only for the first time seen a hyena a couple of weeks before that. So yes, Jess. So it's just incredible from all those aspects and everything you get to see. Then contrasting to that, last thing, Tammy, before I move on to your section, but contrasting to that is just the landscapes and things, because Etosha has a massive salt pan, and it's awesome standing there because you look out for you actually can't see any vegetation for miles all around you. It's just a massive, it looks like you're on the moon. So it's an incredible opportunity for photos. It's just so contrasting to the rest of Etosha. And saying that, and one tip I would say when you do go is to take a buff or a scarf, because it does get dusty, especially in the dry season. And it's also great just to cover yourself in the sun if you are sitting on the side of the vehicle that's getting a bit of sun. So I thought that was going to be the highlight of the trip when I went. And then obviously I went into the Okavango, and I think Tammy is going to tell you more amazing stories there.
So that was amazing, Lee. Honestly, beautiful storyteller. This is why we love you so much. I mean, the Delta it's fantastic. I don't know if I can top up with your Etosha stories. But yeah, the Okavango Delta is, for me, it's a place that just sort of brings you back to yourself. It's humbling, it's quiet, you're part of nature in a very different way. It's peaceful. It's a time to sort of recollect after half of your trip has gone through, basically, and you've been sort of going through the motions of the ocean and seeing all these great scenic viewpoints and stuff like that through Namibia. And going into the Okavango Delta just sort of slows it down, and it slows that pace down, and it allows you just a little bit of time to really breathe, recollect. And I mean, it's the most fantastic area to do that in. One of my favorite things about the Okavango Delta is the bird life, and it's all year round. You've got different species of birds that are flying in and out, and you've got a lot of migratory birds that come through, which we often wouldn't see in, South Africa, and you wouldn't see it on your trip. And by going into the Delta, you're simply just surrounding yourself with wildlife and nature in a very different way. More than likely, you're not going to see really big wildlife, big game wildlife. So you probably will see some elephant and hippo, but to see lions and to see leopard and that type of thing in the Delta, that is a rare occurrence. And if you see it, that's like incredible. Okay. But for the most part, as I say, it's all about just slowing down a little bit, getting on the waterways, being on a Mokoro. There's something so fantastic about being on a Mokoro. You're so close to the water, you feel slightly vulnerable. The trick to it is to just sit like a sack of potatoes, okay? Don't move, just enjoy. And your polars that take you on this Mokoro trip, they've been doing this since they were children. So, put your trust in them. A lot of people feel a little bit scared and nervous getting on this very like shallow boat and balancing, on the floor of this boat whilst you cruising up to, reasonably close to hippo. Potentially, okay, we're not going to put you in a dangerous situation. But yeah, so it's about getting back down to basics, most importantly. One of my most favorite times to travel, and specifically on this tour, yet alone just in the Okavango Delta, is between June to October. So the bush thins out, the water comes in, animals get a little bit landlocked. So those lions and that leopard that I'm talking about, they don't typically, like they do swim, but they may get landlocked onto a specific island, which you possibly would be on in the Delta. And it changes the game completely. So traveling over June to October is amazing. And it is the most popular period of time to travel. So if you like that time, you always need to lock it in sooner than later. It's just one of those things because all of these Cape Vics, again, they are our most popular routes. They really do fill out a lot. But yeah, I think I've spoken quite a lot, and I know I can't help myself sometimes, but I'm going to let Shimon take the rope here. Otherwise, I'm going to carry on chatting for a long time.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in, Tam, because I was just thinking about what you said about the hippos and, the safe distance on the Mokoro. And when we were in Chobe, they do include often the river cruise there, and there's a lot of companies that do the river cruise, and there you do actually get closer to hippos. And what I can tell you is I didn't realize how big they actually are until that moment, because I was like, wow, like they are huge. And it's also just that experience. I mean, you see it in the Mokoros in the Delta, but you also in Chobe, same thing on the river cruise, the elephants all drinking. And your chance to see crocodiles, I think, is better there as well, because there's quite a few that were lying around in the sun. With Chobe, I was just thinking on, after going for quite a while and on a camping experience, I was like, gee, I feel like I could really upgrade at this point and just stay in accommodation for the night. And I'm so glad I didn't, because I tried to, but other people in the group got there before me and there was no more rooms. And I was actually so glad I didn't do it, because that morning I woke up and the bird life, even in Chobe, I actually recorded it because it's unbelievable. Lying there listening to the birds, it sounds like a National Geographic recording of bird life. And just as I was about to stop it, I heard this fish eagle, and we know what the sound is like, and honestly it's the best bird call I think in the world. It's just such an incredible sound, and I'm so glad I got it just before I clicked to stop the recording, and then I stopped it and I heard a hippo and I was like, damn, that would have made it even better. But Chobe is just incrediable. I think Bernelle might want to say something about Chobe as well.
I'm just going to jump in there really quickly, because I've got a Chobe story that's still, I've got goosebumps every time I think about it. So many years ago, I went on a educational trip actually to Zimbabwe, Zambia, and then we also did Chobe. And my expectations was very high for Chobe because this is my first time there. Because all I ever heard about Chobe was the elephants, the Chobe elephants. And we went out on a boat cruise, and we were kind of like sort of well into the cruise already. And we'd seen all the hippos, and you rightly, much bigger. And I was like, okay, so where are these elephants that everybody was talking about? And I was kind of getting distracted, and I was, chatting to everybody else on the boat. And all of a sudden it was dry season. So all of a sudden you kind of just hear, the leaves cracking underfoot, and you can tell that there's activity happening. And all of a sudden, all these elephants just came out of the bush down to the river. And I'm talking, babies, teenagers, matriarchs. It was a sight to behold. And that is the one memory that lives rent-free in my head, because I was kind of like at the point where I was like, oh, this is never going to happen. And then this whole thing just unfolded in front of me, and it was phenomenal. So yeah, I just thought I'd add that about the Chobe.
Stunning, Bernelle. Love it.
Just on that as well, Bernelski, you actually inspired me to share a memory as well about, so a lot of people talk about the boat cruise in Chobe, but no one really talks about the game drives in Chobe. And the Chobe Riverfront game drive is, it's a game drive on steroids, is basically the simplest way to explain it. So the riverfront is just, it's out of this world. There's so much activity, and more so if you can get in the afternoon or like late afternoon, when all the animals have sort of been heating up for the day, and they're starting to make their way onto the riverfront. It's like, I can't really explain it. We've had hyena hunting elephant babies on the riverfront. We've had, the lions in Chobe in particular, they specialize in hunting elephants, which in Chobe and Savuti, it's one of the only areas of Africa where these lions have perfected the technique of actually hunting and effectively killing elephants. It does sound brutal, but it's one of the only places where you'll actually see this possible interaction happening, where a whole pride of lion is, quite confident in taking down quite a large mammal. If you're gonna see it. If you've never seen an elephant in person, you're gonna see what I mean. Okay. Very often you'll find, a whole pride of lion eating out and gouging out of an elephant carcass somewhere on the riverfront. And that in its own, really does make for a great experience and photo. So if you have had enough of your game viewing, by the time, so you'll be wrapping up in Chobe basically, nearly. And if you feel like you still want to see animals, do as many game drives as you can on the Chobe River. But yeah, now I'm done.
Love that. That's beautiful. I think Mich wants to jump in.
I think I'm next. Am I not? I'm so confused now. We're just going whenever we want to. I love it though. And the dog has just started barking. Sorry, hold on. Sorry about that. So the next stop on your tour is going to be Victoria Falls, which is absolutely magnificent to behold in real life. The falls is comes from the Zambezi River, which is actually the border between Zimbabwe and Zambia. So you can technically see the falls from both sides, but on the Zimbabwean side, you'll have a lot more viewpoints. About 75% of the viewpoints are on the Zimbabwean side of the falls, and only 25 on the other side. So obviously, it's really recommended to go to the Zimbabwean side if you can. It's always nice to see both sides if you're able to do so. But if you have to choose one, and the falls specifically is what you want to see. Probably the Zimbabwean side is going to be better. The little town is also pretty cool. It's a very like vibey little town. It's situated literally within like walking distance of the falls. There's actually signs up there while you're walking to the falls. Watch out for the elephants, and apparently that's a real thing. Like the elephants can be walking in the town. So yeah, you do have to just be aware of what's going on around you. Lots of curio shops. There's a lot of little cafes, so it's a very vibey area to visit. You pay your entrance fee at the gates, $50 for most nationalities. I think us South Africans get it for a little bit cheaper because we're neighbors. What else can I tell you? Oh, it's obviously a very, very big area for adventure activities. So you can do things like bungee jumping off the falls. There's a bungee swing off the falls. Not for me particularly. I'm not very fond of heights. There's whitewater rafting. There is powerboat rafting. Jet boat. It's called a jet boat. There's even excursions that you can do to game parks in the area as well if you wanted to get in a little bit more of game viewing. For me, it's a nice end to the tour just to go and have a look at the falls and then relax, just like chill. You're able to speak to the rest of your group, go over all the things that you've experienced together, all the memories that you've made. I even recommend usually spending an additional night if you're flying internationally the next day, just to kind of regroup yourself, let the memories settle in, kind of feel, it's a lot to take in such a long tour, and even when you get home afterwards, you're still going to like kind of experience things. So it's nice to just slow it down, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the last couple of days or day with the rest of your group and so on. So anything practical info? Oh, a tip for Victoria Falls. So you'll see like when you walk into the falls, there's people selling rain jackets like everywhere. And it feels like a massive sales gimmick. And maybe part of it is a little bit. But if you're going in the wet season, which is about April to June, March to June. If you're going during that time period, you'll see why they sell rain jackets everywhere. And you will definitely want to buy yourself a rain jacket. I was only about middle way through the whole walk, and I was soaked, completely soaked, like under your clothes soaked. So definitely a good idea to take one of those. Cool.
For me, just to quickly jump in there, for me, one of the most beautiful descriptions in the African language is the name of Victoria Falls, Mosiatunya, and it's smoke that thunders. And if you go there in peak flow, so March to June, you can, that name just is so aptly descriptive. It's basically you stand there and there's the smoke, the spray of the water, and this thunder. It like reverberates through your body. It's just like, cannot explain that feeling. You just feel so small. So one of those African names that just so aptly describes the place.
Lovely. And I think Rachel's got something to say next.
Hi there. I'm just going to try to share my screen. So I haven't done this before, quickly. Just 1 second. I just wanted to share. Can everyone see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Looking good.
Can you see it still? Or is it?
Yes, it's not on the presentation screen. It's on the.
But we can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Is it not? Okay. And now still or not? Really?
We can see your screen. It's just not on the presentation. I think if you just click that little thing next to the Zoom button, it looks like a wine glass.
Okay, maybe not. Let me try. Oh, what is that? Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, let me just not do that. Maybe.
No, keep sharing. Keep sharing. It looks great.
Does it? Okay, there. Okay. I was just wondering my thing will also say there. Okay, and
I think for those that are in the presentation at the moment, maybe you can take a screenshot and just send it into the Q&A chat.
Oh, can I do that?
I think.
Okay, I'll do that later. Okay, so let me just stop sharing that. Okay, let me just try my speech mode. Okay, so basically,
Roshi, it looked great. You can share like that. That's perfect.
I'm just worried that my other screen will show.
No, it's perfect.
Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, so I'll share it now. Okay, so let me just share what I'm going to talk about now. Okay, so I'm briefly going to just chat about the comfort on the road, so not just the logistic part of it. So basically, overland tours, I feel that it's very important to note that all overland tours involve long distances. So basically, the traveler can explore and see the most important highlights, see the hidden gems, and the most unique sites on the route. I think knowing your comfort levels is very important, especially on an overland journey. You either have the option to camp or stay in rooms. So I like to inform my travelers that they need to be happy and comfortable with their style preference, as this will impact the entire overall experience. So we have the camping option, which is the more affordable option, and it does offer the more immersive experience. So you're provided with a tent and a sleeping mattress. You just need to bring your own sleeping bag, pillow, and towel. You share your tent with a travel partner or a same gender traveler. On the other hand, for those who want some comfort, you can stay in 2 to 3 star rooms with ensuite bathroom facilities at most places on the route. On some options, the camping and the accommodated travelers travel on the same truck. So it's only the sleeping arrangements which will be different. You could also opt for the camping tour, and if you find it's too challenging to upgrade, then challenging on the camping trip, then you just upgrade en route to rooms, but that naturally depends on availability of the rooms. Then just briefly, let's quickly talk about the vehicles, and they are the backbone of any overland tour. So there are the custom-built trucks that are designed to travel through the African terrain. So they're designed to travel on the bumpy roads and the long distances. The trucks can seat groups ranging from 12 to 24 travelers. There are no air conditioning on the trucks. So the trucks have huge windows, like you saw. I'll just share the picture in the chat. But the trucks have huge windows, so which allow for fresh air to flow through the truck. There are instances where the trucks can't venture through some certain roads. So that's where you travel in smaller vehicles. So ensuring that you have access to the most remote locations like the Delta. And then what truly makes the journey really amazing is the presence of guides. So these are the passionate individuals who embody the spirit of Africa. So these experts are more than just guides. They are the storytellers, the historians, the skilled drivers, and wildlife enthusiasts all rolled into one. So what I feel is knowing your comfort preference is key to enjoying your overland trip through Africa. So whether you choose camping or staying in rooms, you just need to, I think, rest assured that you'll be in good hands with experienced guides and travel in safe, reliable vehicles. Okay, that's me. I think it's off to Celia.
Thanks, Reshma. Hi, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to chat to you guys today. I have prepared a little bit about a day on the road, which is, for me, quite challenging because every day is going to be wildly different, but it's also going to be very much the same. So it's a hard one, but I'm going to try my best to just give you a little bit of an idea. I feel like you can put it into 2 categories. So there's going to be driving days and activity or highlight days. Most of your driving days are going to start really early. You'll likely be up just before dawn, grab a cup of coffee or a tea, put down your tent, roll up, pack up your luggage, pack up camp, and then or check out of your accommodation if you're staying in a room, and then hop onto your trusty truck and off you go for the day. On activity days, you might be up even earlier, depending on if you're going on a game drive or if you're going to go and explore what you feel like doing. There will, of course, be days where you can sleep in a little bit if you want to. But in the mornings for game drives, you're going to have to be up nice and early. For the animals is a little bit more active in the morning. And so that's a good reason, I think, to get up. There will be a lot of early mornings. I don't know if I've mentioned that. It's early mornings. See that? For breakfast, you'll likely have a spread of cereals and toast and eggs, sometimes teas, coffees, juices. For lunches, you'll have sandwiches, salads, things like that. Lunches will mainly be on the side of the road. If it's on a driving day, you'll find somewhere, hopefully with a little bit of shade or somewhere safe to pull off the side of the road, and you'll set up camp for the lunch. And then your evenings, your dinners are going to be around a campfire. Sometimes you can eat on your lap. Head torches are great for that evening dinners. And sometimes it'll be in a restaurant and you'll go out as a group or so. You can also taste some local cuisine along the line. You can ask your guide to point out where you can taste and experience the local foods. With regards to your driving days, I personally really love to just stare out the window and watch the landscapes change. It's very pretty for me. Some people nap on the truck. Some people read in the vehicle. In the front of the vehicle, a lot of the vehicles in the front have sort of two seats facing inwards. So it's like a communal area. People play games or card games, and it's a bit more social. So you can sort of just depend on what you're going to do. But just, I think the important thing is to know that there is going to be a lot of time spent on the road, and that's, you're covering vast distances. So that's pretty important to know. I have no idea how long I've been talking now, but let's just finish up with, what did I want to say? Oh, fellow travelers. I do just want to quickly mention, you're going to be in your vehicle for about 3 weeks with like-minded strangers, but they're still going to be strangers. And I think a very good thing to remember is to be kind, polite, and respectful. I used to giggle. I loved it when I was a guide. In the beginning, everyone is so kind. It's like, please, Larry, will you pass me the butter? And at the end, it's more like, geez, Larry, can you not put the jam in the butter? Blah, blah, with, eye rolls. And it's just kind of remember to be respectful and kind, and, because the group dynamics will influence your tour. So it's also going to be what you make of it. I don't know if there's anything else. If you've got any questions, please feel free to pop them into the Q&A. Thanks.
I think it's me next, is it? Hi guys, I'm Ingrid. Talking to you about the packing, the big question. Normally it's everybody's question before they travel. And once they get on tour, they realize, oh, okay, it wasn't such a big issue, But I get it. Obviously, I used to joke, don't pack the kitchen sink. That is basically what, meaning like, don't pack everything. Pack, like the whole idea of traveling is, or coming to Africa and being on the truck, is to have it as light as you can. Saying that, I am very much aware of people that's struggling with what ifs, and like, what if I need this and I need to take this, but guys, like, first of all, the packing, like, technically, or the logistics of it, is the trucks normally have a locker that you need to put your bag in. Like, everybody got their own locker. It is a decent size, but it's not obviously huge. So you need to, like, consider that when you're looking at what bag you're going to bring, and, obviously how big it's going to be. There is measurements. I don't know. It's 35 centimeters by 35 centimeters, and then it's about 80 centimeters deep. I'm sure nobody's going to remember that. So just check your pre-departure when you, before you travel. But the idea is, because it is a fairly, limited size, is that you bring a soft bag. Don't bring one of those hard suitcases, because if your bag is maybe slightly bigger than a 35 centimeters, when it's soft, you can at least, like, sort of squeeze it in there. You can, it's squeezable. That's the whole idea, is because if it's got a rigid frame and it's really just like a centimeter bigger than 35, it's not going to fit. So, the idea is just to have a soft bag, like a sports bag, a duffel bag, anything that's soft, no rigid frames. that will make the life of your life a whole lot easier. And a lot of people is like, yeah, but what about the airports? We want to like wheelie our bags through the airport. You know, fair enough, I understand that. But if you're going on a 3-week trip, you know, the priority would be to fit it into the locker than actually wheeling it through the airport. You know, that's when we talk about what you actually need to pack, it's like keep it simple. Bring like comfortable clothes, comfortable shoes, stuff. Don't go out and buy new things. You know, you're gonna get dirty, you're gonna get dusty. It's the clothes is like definitely not white. I love white, but if you've been on the road for a few days, your white is not gonna be white anymore. It's gonna be dusty and dirty. And so bring stuff that you can easily wash. You know, if you're packing light, you're not gonna have clothes for 3 weeks. You know, that you're gonna have to do some washing somewhere. You know, bring it like a small little washing powder, and then every night just give your shorts and your t-shirts and your underwear a little rinse, and then it's ready again for the next morning. So yeah, basically, you know, but it's always a worry. People's always like don't know what to bring. So keep it simple, basic shorts, t-shirts, and for the winter, it's like bring layering pieces. You know, a t-shirt underneath, a long top over that, and a jacket over that. So, because especially in Namibia, Botswana, the daytimes is still nice and warm. You've got sun. It's mild. It's good for shorts and t-shirts. But then as soon as the sun sets, it gets chilly. It gets like really cold. So you need to like put back on your clothes again. So the idea is to layer, like, so you can put up, take off and put back on again as the day gets colder and warmer. And Africa, or Namibia and Botswana specifically, can get actually quite cold in the winter. So it's important that you bring nice warm things. Sometimes even like gloves and a little beanie that you can put on, you know, for when it's like really cold in the mornings. Tips for what to bring, like Lee mentioned that a buff, you know, like a buff is really handy because you can use it like as a little scarf for when it's cold, you know, so your neck is not cold, and then you can use it for like a mask when it's really dusty. My other one is also always a kikoi or a shirong, like just a piece of material that you can throw over. That's nice for sun protection and also nice for if it's a little bit chilly. And the other one is like a torch, like a flashlight. That is one of the really handy things, is when you move between your tent and the communal areas, so you can sort of shine your way to it. But yeah, that's it. It's we've got packing lists, so if you ever wonder like what you need to pack, we can send it on to you. But yeah, important thing, keep it light.
Thank you, Ingrid. Yeah, always keep it light. I think I am an overpacker, so I have to be very conscious when I do go on trips. Right. So again, everybody, I'm Bernelle. Thank you for, joining this information session. It's always lovely talking to everybody. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about more of the logistical pre-tour information. Let's start with pre and post. So we can, depending on your flights, and tours generally leave very early in the morning to make the most of each day. So we usually recommend that clients arrive a day before, or I think it was Huntley that said, if you're starting, like when you do the Cape to Vic and you're starting in Cape Town, maybe 2, 3, or 4 days before the time, because there's so much to do in this beautiful city. We can arrange pre and post tour accommodations for you, as well as airport transfers. And it's just again, it's one less thing for you to worry about. Your transfer person will be there for you when you arrive at the airport. And then also, you are at the hotel already the night before where the tour is departing from, which is just comforting to know that you, I guess, in the right place. And you might even bump into people who are joining the trip while you are there. Then with regards to meetings, some tours do have pre-departure meetings. It could be the night before, but most tours do it either the guides will do it on the road, or they will do it the night, sort of your first night where you are, as a group together. And then there will be conversations around money or activities, and your guide is extremely knowledgeable, as I think somebody had mentioned. I think that just sometimes from the questions that we get, I think people forget about not forget about the guides, but you can really lean on your guide for everything. So that pre-departure meeting, or once you're on the road kind of meeting, is very informative, and it's great because then there can be a lot of back and forth, and maybe questions that you didn't think of, you can hear maybe somebody else will ask those questions. So that's that. Visas. I think with visas, the best way to say it is that you as the client are responsible for your own visa. You are traveling through multiple African countries. As you can imagine, us as consultants, we are dealing with clients from all over the world who have very different visa requirements. So it is your responsibility to make sure that you have each visa that you may or may not need for your trip. We are happy to provide you, if you do, like say, for example, I've got a client at the moment, they're from Hungary, and they need a visa to get into Namibia. So we are happy to provide you with visa, visa letters that you can use when you do apply for the visa. But at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to know which visas are required. Hand in hand with that is also your passports. I think sometimes it's the last thing that people think of, although it's the most important document. But I'll give you an example. I had a client travel. It was actually a Cape to Vic in January, and a week before she traveled, she messaged me in a panic, Bernelle, my passport will expire by the time I'm still on the trip, which is obviously a big problem. It's important to remember that you have to have, X amount of pages free on your passport, but also your passport needs to be valid for at least 6 months from when that trip ends or when you finish. So those are the important things to remember with regards to your passport. I always try and make at least a copy of my passport just to have it with me. There are lockers on the trucks that you can, put those things away safely. But just in terms of, just make sure that visas and passports are exactly what you need for countries that you're going to be traveling to. The other important thing is travel insurance. And I think sometimes people think of it as like, if you have private medical aid, should I really have it? Is something really going to happen to me? It is very, very important, and it's actually compulsory. Your guide, we do ask on our traveler information forms, we ask you to put your travel insurance information on there, like a contact number, your reference number, the name of the travel insurance company. That is essential information. And if you don't provide it before the time, the guide will also ask you for that travel information, for the travel insurance information when you start your trip. It's important to cover things like repatriation, or if you're doing why isn't the word coming to me now? If you need to be, if you in, let's say for example, you're in the Okavango Delta, or you're somewhere in Botswana and something really bad happens, you need to be airlifted out. Those are the important things that should be covered in your travel insurance. You can also cover, make sure that cancellation is covered. So let's say, for example, a month before you're supposed to leave and now something happens to you, you can claim via your travel insurance. If there's a missed flight connection and you've missed it and you now need to change up flights, or, all those kinds of things can be included within your travel insurance. I know that it's an added expense, but trust me when I say, it is important. I have traveled before where, I've had something happen to me, and thankfully my travel insurance was there to cover those expenses. Flights. We do not book your flights for you, but we're more than happy to give advice. I always say to people, check multiple sites, check your Sky Scanners, or, all those sites that gives you various airlines and prices where you can compare. Also, I do understand, and I know, because we all do it, people book their flights online. But I always sometimes say to clients, don't forget your corner travel agent that you can walk into, because they are well equipped with when there might be sales coming up, or when you can do a different routing to get to your end destination. So, those are important things to remember. Also, on your travel information forms, please make sure that we have your flight information, so that, if you are not, for example, where you're supposed to be, and, the person waiting for you at the airport calls us, we can be like, okay, well, this was the flight number that we have. Also, update us as soon as you possibly can when there is a flight connection that's delayed, or anything that has changed. But again, we can give assistance with flights, but we won't book international flights. Money, currency. You are obviously going to be traveling through multiple countries, and each country has different currency. What I would suggest is that you carry either US dollar or euro in small denominations. So don't carry hundreds, or, carry small denominations that you are either able to pay in those small currencies depending on where you are, or you are able to exchange your money, at an exchange office, or you can use your credit or your debit card. And again, this is where your guides come in so wonderfully. Excuse me. I was on a trip in November through Zimbabwe and Botswana, and our guide always said to us, there are no problems. So don't, I have a problem, my money or whatever. There are no problems. They are there to assist. So usually what will happen is, if you're pulling into a town, your guide will say to you, if anybody needs to draw money, local currency, or if you wish to exchange money, now's the time. And they'll direct you to an ATM, or they'll direct you to an exchange office, or they'll say to you, you are more than happy to book or to use your credit or your debit card when paying for something. When it comes to activities, so on your itinerary, you'll see that there is optional activities that you can do. Those activities you can book on tour with your guide. Again, that is what they are there for. So the guide will often say to you, if you're going into, for example, the Chobe, and you maybe want to do, not the Chobe, the Delta, and you want to do a flight over the Delta, you can book that. Or if you're in Victoria Falls, where there are so many activities to choose from, if you want to do, I don't know, if you want to do a helicopter flip over the falls, guys, it's a fantastic idea. That you can book either with your guide can pre-book that for you. So those are the kind of things that, those are the questions that we often get. So all those things can be done with your guide. I think Tam said earlier, I think it was Tam that said, put your trust in your guide. They are the people that is the backbone of each trip. And when we get feedback, often the feedback will be, oh, our guide, Dr. T, was this and that. And it's wonderful feedback. So, they're not just there to drive the truck or, help you with making your meals or those kind of things. They are a wealth of information. So lean on them. That is what they are there for. And they are just the most amazing people. So yeah, if anybody has anything else to add, I think I've covered just about everything. But yeah, that's me.
Great. Thank you so much, team. That was absolutely fantastic. If any of you have any questions, Chester, Josefa, John, and Julie, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them on the Q&A section and we can quickly answer those for you. Okay, how to get all the information about this tour, including dates, prices, and the itinerary. Josefa, I see that you have been in contact with Tammy in the past, so she can send you all of the details. We'll just make sure that we've got the correct email address for you, and please keep an eye out on your spam folder too, just because sometimes emails do land up there. And if you'd like to share your contact number, we can also give you a call. We can WhatsApp you, whichever platform you prefer, we can share there. Cool. Do we have any more questions? Oh, there we go. Oh, thanks, Tam. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Jess, for facilitating. It was always lovely.
Yeah, so much fun. Lovely to have the team all together and chatting. I always learn something new, and I love the stories that you guys share. So
I also love the stories. It brings back all of the memories. It's really nice.
Amazing. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to add before we get finished up? Cool. I'll just one little tip that I have is definitely take a good pair of binos with you. Maybe a waterproof bag for your phone and your camera, and yeah, definitely a wide brim hat for me to keep the sun off your shoulders. Yeah, those are
Can I just translate what you said? Binos is probably a very South African thing. Like binoculars.
Thank you.
Also, like one thing I always find that a lot of people travel with, just because it's in the travel, like what to bring with you, is big, bulky hiking boots that you're gonna hike up like Machu Picchu or Kilimanjaro. Unless you are actually doing that journey along the way, unless you're actually planning to do like a big hiking trip somewhere, keep in mind that this particular tour, the 20-day Cape Town to Victoria Falls tour, doesn't have such strenuous hiking days and hiking experiences. The only time I encourage people to bring decent hiking shoes with is if you have foot issues. If you could potentially be a little bit of a lazy walker, some people like to, roll their ankles, and it's just a walking sort of tendency. And it's in those cases that you may be inclined to want to bring those hiking boots. But more often than not, people end up bringing these hiking boots, which do take up quite a lot of space. It's, they're the same size as a great wooden carved giraffe in a bag, I'm just saying. And people bring it along and they don't never use them and they feel like it's a waste. So just be true to yourself. Like if you do just general walking at home in your hiking boots, then bring them along. But if you're just using trainers, sneakers, Nike running shoes or, New Balance or whatever it is that you that you walk with generally, bring those rather, because those are going to be your day-to-day shoes, if not sandals, thongs, slip-slops, for the most part.
Lovely. Any other favorite tips from the team?
I also want to just say that slip-slops are flip-flops overseas.
Same, man. It's the same.
And if we've got any,
being a
and if we've got any
translator.
Aussies online, they're the thongs.
Yes, which means something very different in other countries.
Yeah,
Did-
what you
did
call a
anybody-
French.
Did anybody mention the padlock for the lockers?
I used the one from my case as the padlock on my locker, but no, nobody mentioned.
So as you all will have your own locker. So just bring along a little padlock and it needs to be a relatively small one, not a big padlock. And I prefer a combination padlock because I am guaranteed to lose my key somewhere along the line. I did see on one of the pictures of Michelle when she was on tour, she actually had her key on her necklace around her neck, which I thought was quite a great idea too. Cool. We are now on 59 minutes and 50 seconds. So we are exactly on an hour. Well timed, team. Thank you so much. I think we're going to stop the recording here. And thank you, all of you, for attending. We will share the recording online. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Tam has left her email address there, so you're welcome to get in contact there. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.